Welcome back, Elden Ring fans, to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the torch and why it's such a good weapon and it's so underestimated, and how underestimating your opponent can sometimes lead you to death, especially when you're outnumbered or outskilled. Now, in today's video, we're also going to talk about the DLC, and I know people have been over-analyzing the DLC by a whole lot, but nobody really knows too much info. Nothing's really been leaked a whole bunch. But I did want to talk about possible areas. As a Souls veteran, when I play through this game, a lot of things gave me certain vibes. Just like her Aeonia, Milena's Aeonia that she leaves behind. It does give me a really, really dark vibe, just like the rest of the Souls series has. When you defeat a boss and they leave behind something, it typically has something of great importance. I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere in a description of something that she possibly left behind that it said that she has 3 stages. In the 3rd stage, when her Aeonia blossoms, she was to become a goddess. And I know that she becomes technically part 1 with a god, with the god of decay, as in the belly of rot that lives inside of her. But it just didn't feel as open as I had expected. It didn't feel like that was the end. It just felt too good to be true. She was way too overpowered, sure, but something seems like it's missing. I know that the egg from Mikola up there in the tree is missing. And a lot of people have been stating, the DLC, it's going to show up there, I guarantee it. But there's a lot of points that a lot of the other Souls games have shown that this could show up anywhere. Mostly in boss rooms. The DLC, if you didn't find the DLC in DS3, or you bought the last one first, they made exceptions to where you could find it. You didn't have to own the second DLC or the first DLC in order to play either one. They had in the end of the Soul Cinder, in the end of the boss room, they had a bonfire that took you from point A to point B of a DLC. I'm not going to go into depth on that because a lot of people still haven't played DS3, which is insane. But a lot of people have not played it compared to Dark Souls 2. People played Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 sold way more copies than DS3 on its initial release. But a lot of people still haven't gone and played that game. If you haven't, go and play the Souls series. It's worth a try. There's some minor issues, some aging, but they're all good. They're all very good. Their DLCs are amazing. They're always amazing. So I that gives me hype for exactly what we're going to receive with the DLC in this game. I don't believe that we're going to receive more than 100, but I do believe that this game, being their biggest title, is going to show more than one. There's going to be definitely more than one. There's going to be more than 2, I believe. I think there'll be at least 4 DLC. And I don't have any proof of that. It's just a very good feeling that I have. It's too good. They've had too much appraisal with this. They've had way too much hype on this game. Everybody's already giving it 10 out of 10s, and people are already saying Game of the Year. And there's good reason and good merit behind it. There's also bad merit behind it, but we're not going to go really into that because, you're going to see later on that there's me killing people with just a torch, but that's also has something to do with people underestimating you. The second area that I wanted to talk about was Rykard's boss room. Rykard's boss room gave me that same vibe Milena's did, leaving behind his corpse, his head, which this young lady, I don't remember her name, feasts upon. She eats it. It's kind of disgusting. Her dialogue ends. You can typically find an item. I don't have it here in this character. But as you can see, she's eating it. She's not crying. She's not sobbing. She's eating him and asking for him to come into her, to accept her as a host. And that's insane to me. I don't believe that there's any more to her story after this besides killing her knight and doing the rest of the Volcano Manor questline. But you do have the option to swing your sword in this area. You have the option to cast spells, which means that you can take her life. But I do recommend not doing it before the DLC comes out. This could be a very, very big problem if you kill her and she leads you to another area, or the memory of her being there leads you to another area. Memories are something that we always take a cross in. The memories of paintings, the openness of the DLC. Every game has a very weird cognitive collection for memories. Everything is always able to be touched and felt and then walked through the path of your own, through somebody else's thoughts or memories or dreams. Bloodborne did this a lot. Bloodborne's an extremely good game. I think it has better story and better, background than Dark Souls 3. I think Dark Souls 3 plays really well, but Bloodborne definitely has an amazing story, and that's why I think it gets the respect that it deserves. But there's a lot of areas that if you look really carefully, the backgrounds for a lot of the boss rooms seem like they extend. Like there's areas you can go back there in the back to. Nicholas Haligtree at the very bottom when you're fighting Milena, she does have one. You can see the vast areas on top of, and we're going to talk about this, the third area I believe that you would have a DLC in would be the giant bowl, the giant furnace for the giants. It's very important. I think it's extremely important. It's got so much that it did, but also so little. It feels so underwhelming to make it to the top of that area and nothing there. Rodin's boss room has a lot of the ships surrounding it. It has a lot of emptiness. Sure, there's one tiny dungeon, but there's no legacy dungeon for his boss room. I thought after defeating such a foe, you'd go to a place where, of course, significance would happen. And you do. He holds up the stars, which is a fucking cool idea. That's like the coolest boss idea I've ever thought of. That's got to be the toughest dude in all of Soul series. But he holds up the stars and they fall, and of course you get to go to the city of Nokron. And it opens up the lower areas of the map. But that's not the importance of it. His boss room is just so empty. And like I said, a lot of the older areas in the past have to do with DLC. They always do. They always lap back into each other. And sometimes they're secret areas. For example, again, I'm sorry I'm bringing up Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1, actually, brought you going back to the beginning of the area that you were in. And in this game, you can do that. But there's no real big legacy dungeon there. It's just, hey, you're going back, you're picking up a few items, and that's about it. Dark Souls 3 did that, and Dark Souls 1 both did that. But Dark Souls 1 had bosses and stuff that were there. You can fight the original boss you fought in the beginning of this game by going through that tiny side quest. But anyway, I'll make another video on that and go into depth on why and where I exactly think that the DLC will take place. I don't want to make it usual where people are just talking about Nicholas Egg. Everybody talks about that, and I feel like it's just overzealous. It's a good idea. It's a very valid point. But there's tons of other areas that DLC could happen. There's tons of other objects in the world that show that they have less significant importance than they do right now, but could have a huge significant importance later on. Anyway, back to the main topic of this story and of this video. As you're going to be seeing, me and my friend are just trolling with these torches. He's using the St. Trina's torch, which is super overpowered. These weapons are so underestimated. This opponent here, even though he's being taken on 2v2, I can do a colossal amount of damage. Compared to using a torch or a greatsword, I'm doing pretty decent damage, and we're just making him fall asleep and chasing after him and throwing stuff at him. It's typical troll stuff, but in Elden Ring, that should be really hard to do because, people have the left trigger, and that's the only thing that they like to use. But with the torch bearers, which is a really, really old thing, is just running after people with torches and emoting at them. We tried to be peaceful to a lot of these people, but it didn't really turn out very well. I can understand why. The Reds have been invading and getting clapped by three-man ganks that are way past over-leveled. Me and this other significant fellow, we are 125, so we're not over-leveled. These guys are exactly the same size as us. They wield the same amount of power, but their builds are a little lacking. They have some really good creativity in some of them. and a lot of them just like the mash, but the connections here are a little bad, and like I said, I'll go over that in another video. That's because of a glitch that was performed. A glitch was performed in my area while I was hosting, and it messed up my game quite a bit. A lot of people have had this happen. Not very many people talk about it, but glitches are becoming a little bit of an issue. But the more they are used, the more they will be patched out. They will get more attention, and I'm sure that they are, and I'm sure that there will be another update within the next month, hopefully. I'm very reassured with this update that we just had. It was just a slight update, but it meant something. It meant that they were willing to keep it up. You know, you could always have your last update even after one, you know, like right after another. But this gives me hope. But anyway, furthermore, I'll leave you to this ungodly sight of me chasing down people with a torch with my friend, and understanding that a strength build with the Beast Torch and St. Trina's Torch are just overpowered. There's nothing you can really do. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe, and hopefully we will have more of these videos. Thank you.